We just reached another milestone of over $1.5 million in generated profits from July to February, so figure that's about 9 months. 8.5 to be more exact. That's obviously incredible, but in this video, we're going to talk about what the market's been doing the last 2 weeks, what I'm looking at it to do in the next couple of weeks, talked about my performance a little bit in terms of prop firms, payouts, and what I'm working on and going to need to bring into the coming weeks after some degenerate behavior and all the things that go along with that, as well as traveling and just kind of what that does, how that impacted my performance, and share a little bit about the journey, maybe be a bit of a storyteller and go from there. So to start off with, I'm going to go all the way to the charts and just take a look at how we did kind of working our way. Since I didn't really cover any of, I'm going down to the 5-minute time frame. Didn't really cover any of last week because I was traveling. I did a surprise impromptu trip real quick all the way down to Spain. It was beautiful and lovely and much, much needed. But starting with where we were. So mind you, this is less classes. This is less screen time in general. And still we're able to kind of accomplish this much. Obviously, Monday was an easy buy. That's Monday, the first Monday of February. Tuesday, we took the sell, and it was perfect. We took not one, but two amazing trades for over 50 and then 60 points, and then we're done. Of course, we had a little entry here, but then we were popping off the call. We did mark it up and stuff. I didn't personally take it, but you get the idea. Now come to Wednesday the 4th. I took a small buy, maybe got about 50 points out of that first buy, and then, of course, a sell down. I was out of my profits at that first 80. Of course, it continued to move its way down. And then from here, I didn't have any further classes until coming up into this week. So I do have to stop on Friday, or maybe come back to Friday. Friday the 6th, yeah. Friday the 6th, I did some awful things. I was sitting there, sleep deprived, half delusional, trying to just get my one trade on the day and count from my day. Probably should not have been doing, obviously, all the things that go into this. This is not a tech error. This is 100% me error. And then you combine that with some other things, which I'll get to the story of here in a second. But it was afternoon there. You got to think. Daylight savings time, it was 2:30. Now it's 3:30 in Spain at market open, if I'm not mistaken. And remember, I'm sleep deprived, many, many hours of travel in and out, just different time zones and all the things. I was looking for the quick sell in and around here, just looking to kind of come fill up an imbalance or come kind of retest a high. I was not looking for very much. And I entered right before the market had opened. Well, needless to say, I told you guys I've been kind of working on my Trade settings in terms of how it coincides with Trade Syncer and the whole ATM philosophy of like that trailing stop. It kind of glitches it up. So I enter my short-term sell. I'm only looking for a couple of points. I was going to close out at 50 or $100. Not a lot, just enough to get the trade day in. Well, here's what happened. I took my sell, I removed my stop loss, dragged my take profit up, okay? I can't say, where it was in terms of this or if it activated. I have no idea of knowing. But around that time, we get a knock on the door for where I was staying, and this is the oven. They're going to work on the oven. I'm not thinking anything of it, but of course my screen is freezing and nothing is happening, right? Well, in order for them to work on the oven, they had to disable the Wi-Fi. They disabled the Wi-Fi and all the electricity in the entire apartment building. So, I'm now in this trade. I'm completely calm for a good 5-10 minutes. And I'm like, okay, well, we're just going to get it back on momentarily. And then they can finish their work. Completely calm, completely good to go. But by the time we got reconnected, price had already moved over 230 points-ish against me. And again, I had removed my stop losses. So in this day, I had lost all but one of my PA accounts, and now we'll kind of unblur this little box right here. All but one is how much I lost. The largest one obviously still had plenty of room. The rest of them, it just wasn't enough to kind of contend with the trailing drawdown, and I lost all of my 25K accounts and then all of my 150K accounts with a couple of different firms. Obviously, most of those are Apex firms. So now I had to rebuild. I only kept the one PA from there, which I requested a payout on to yesterday. So I guess that's good. The buffer was just so big there, it didn't matter. Was I outsized? No. I had 4 micros. But with those 4 micros, I had hit the 2 times button on my trade copier. So basically, I was getting a multiple amount of that, just enough to kind of trade into that buffer, and it is what it is. So obviously, not my best performance, best thought process, and a whole bunch of other things. And it kind of goes with the same things in terms of trading. Now, the reality is, the more I thought about it, is if I wasn't doing prop firms and caring about the day, I either A, would not have taken a trade, or B, traded it differently, right? So I know that there's a lot of psychology that goes into it. But yeah, on this day, it moved a whole bunch and I had no control over all that. And I definitely have since then, yet again, learned my stop loss is super important and you can't do all that. So I'm going to take it with a grain of salt and just kind of keep on keeping on. Here's our Tuesday class trade. We did kind of have a class and just talk and yap and share stories in terms of traveling. Got a couple points on it, but otherwise wasn't really looking for and mindful of trading. Wednesday was a perfect, easy, like this trade was beautiful, pulled up against, held. Wasn't outsized by any means. My major accounts had minis on them. The rest of them all had micros. And it was smooth and easy. Got the points I needed and got out. Obviously, it kept going. Same thing Thursday. Thursday, I had to take a baby loss. I think I lost about 40 points, a little bit less than. And then, of course, sold down. And we called it another entry here. So overall, net profit on the week is, I don't know, a couple hundred points for class trades. And we did really, really good. So for that, I am grateful. But now I'm going to go up to the 1 hour time frame. I'm going to disable, hide all, and just get a clear kind of naked view. Today we had CPI, which kind of pumped us up, obviously, than yesterday's closing price. We still have this enormous inbounce to the upside, but if we look at the larger time frames, not to say retracement isn't possible, but I'm not completely sold that the downside is completely done. So there's quite a few candle formations for those of you guys who follow that are kind of present right now, going up to the daily. We can kind of see how that's forming out. This is not. Can this be where we stop? Absolutely. Look back here in the past. That's in November. And of course, there's data about that the entire time. But look how long it took us to retrace that as opposed to right now. So for me to believe that the downside is completely done, I'm not seeing it just yet. But we are kind of at a nice little supply and demand area, this little support area here. And that's on the daily. So now if I go all the way up to the weekly and then, of course, the monthly, there is a lot more downside potential, potentially down to 23,000. Now, I'm not saying we're going to get that in February per se, but just kind of keeping our eye on the fact that we've got down to the 24,000s. And if I go to a smaller time frame, we can see how many more gaps are still present, like those regular trading gaps, regular trading hours, RTH. I would like to personally see price come all the way down to those 23,000s and of course all the way down to even 20,000. But I'm not the person who's going to kind of give that long-term view. I'm going to go all the way back now to the 4 hour, refresh the view, and then let me turn this up a little bit, go to regular trading hours, and just to get a peek. We did come down to fill this regular trading range gap, which is kind of exactly where we stopped, ironically, not once but twice. But remember, those aren't the only ones. There are still others that are still left open much farther down. So 23,440s area would be my next kind of major play. Of course, we've got some other higher time frame, higher levels. They're the 24,500s, which we already kind of really came close to. So if we're taking liquidity again, we're going to take somewhere around the 24,100s. And then beyond that, we're going to have the 23,400s and 25s. So those are where I'm looking for the next couple of weeks. And then in terms of me and my behavior, now that we've unblurred all this, $278,000 in profit, obviously impressive. Woo-hoo, that's amazing. In full disclaimer, some of these I try not to link any evals, but when I was linking some of these are eval accounts. So that's the only reason why this is so high. I need to go in there and remove some of those fair and square. I'm trying to keep all of this funded or live funds only. Obviously with prop firms, the way they transition from live to pro plus to pro to all that, it's a little bit tricky, but you guys get the idea. I would also like to kind of keep track of both my expenses as well as my payouts. And I'm doing something that's kind of trying to account for all the accounts to say, hey, wait, of the accounts I buy, how many of them get payouts, right? What percentage? Hard to do because some of them are evals and then funded, right? I also want to find out, hey, if I generated $228,000 in profit, how much did I actually get paid out on this month? I'm kind of thinking in terms of prop firms, I think the extremely excellent period would be somewhere around 30%, 20% even. Otherwise, I'm guessing it's going to average somewhere between 10 to 20% of what the actual take home would be. But I'm going to do the math on that and kind of keep track. I'm a math girl. It kind of geeks me out. All the spreadsheets, just kind of learning and following that process. So overall, accuracy is not bad. I'm going to filter for this month. These days, I need to kind of clean up a little bit. obviously this is degenerate behavior, which brings me into my last and final topic. So next video, I'm going to be doing a lot of the Q&A. If you have any questions and you have them on our YouTube, definitely make sure you put them there and I'll do my best to answer. I will say again, we've been around trading for a very long time. We are kind of new to certain areas of prop firms in all fairness, and also, we weren't very big. So of course, check out our website, sixfiguretradingcoach.com. If you're buying a prop firm, use code 6FTC, but also have a little bit of grace. And if you have questions, I'm the first person. I would love to hold your hand and kind of help you through it and just tell you what I think or what I feel. And it doesn't mean it's the only way to be. I can't stand people who go that approach on the markets or really anything in life, but I'm definitely willing to help wherever I can. So for me, in terms of this degenerate behavior, what I have found, and one of the reasons why I don't go and try to pass prop firms in a day anymore, and I'm just trading my evals for the most part, like I would trade by funded, is because I feel like it brings out a bad behavior. It brings out that whole, let me double down, let me take on more risk, how easy it is just to click a button, click a button, click a button. It's not the way we should be trading, right? We should be able to take our setup, hands off the mouse, right? Hands off the mouse, no touchy, no touchy. Let the trade play out according to how you believe it's going to, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And then you're either up or down on the day. Well, when I do stuff like this, I really feel like the next couple of weeks, I need to scale down, right? I need to look at some of the math that I have here, which is on the contract sizes, and really hold myself accountable to this right here. Meaning if it's a 25K account, I'm only allowed one micro at a time, especially given the fact that most of the 25K accounts don't have a full 1,500. They technically only have 1,000 or 1,200 depending on the firm. As you know, most of the 50K accounts don't have a full 3,000. They have like a 2,000 or 2,500 depending on the firm. And then as you guys know, 150K accounts don't all have 4,500. Some of them have 4,000. Some of them have 5,000. So I really want to kind of hold true to this and hold true to taking 2 to 3 setups on the day and really kind of underperform a little bit, because as you can imagine, whereas I think we're at $15,000, $16,000 in payouts already for the month of February, it's now going to take me a long time if I'm going slow to build up that buffer back again so I can get those Apex payouts, because January, like the last video I just did, you can reference it here, the Apex was the top performing, top paying firm. So it's something I'm going to be personally kind of trying to hold myself accountable for. Definitely. I hope you guys do too. Don't feel too afraid to drop a comment and remind me, because I do read the comments and I do see those. But yeah, that's what I'm going to be working on, is scaling down, trying to find 1 to 3 setups a day, plus Monday's a holiday. So just recognizing that in the big picture, it's probably going to take me, maybe I might get one Apex payout in February from those new accounts that I just cleared today, but more than likely I'm not going to get paid out on those accounts until March. So as of today being Friday the 13th, I am due Tradeify payments today, my funded futures payouts today, trade day payouts today. I already took Lucid and funded next this week, and then maybe next week I'll get the alpha, but I keep getting that news filter thing. I think it has to do with my copy software, because even today I had closed out of my position prior to news, but for some reason, the funded accounts all held them only for alpha, which is kind of weird for trade sinkers. So might mean I have another 5 days after I request in 4 days to get past that. So we'll see. We'll see. Overall, I have to take the good months with the bad and recognize, like we pulled up on our last video, not all of the top investors are green every month, every year, every week. And to own that, right? And to still look at it from a big picture, like where else in the world can you profit $50,000, $60,000 in 6 weeks into a year, right? And work part-time from anywhere you want. Now, granted, it still needs discipline. Granted, there's still a lot that goes into it. I still think there's an advantage to trading your own money, but still, dollar for dollar, and time that I don't need to hit home runs every day, that yes, I can maybe consider scaling down a little bit and having my personal daily target set much smaller. Think maybe half of this even until I build up the buffer. I need to consider that, because I also don't want to go crazy. I lost some of those accounts that I had held for 40 days, and that's just an awful feeling. So we'll see how it all goes. But as always, thank you for watching. I super appreciate all the views, likes, and comments. Don't forget to subscribe to kind of see what we're doing here. As always, definitely check out the website. We have a couple of really cool things coming in terms of automation. Yes, it's been a process, but Ooh, let me show this before I pop up. So the people in our community are doing really good. Obviously, some of us are still using some other platforms. This guy has used, his take on my strategy for quite a while. We have a couple people just doing exceptional, making about $300 to $500 a day, hands free with the automation. So is everybody doing that good? No, I'd even have to pull up mine. I have mine set to the 5 minute, which I think I need to adjust. So for example, his negative day was still only $30 one day. I think it was $4 another day. So overall, definitely not a bad way to be. People are winning. They're doing really good, and I'm just excited. So people come to our classes, and when they come, like, cool, I got my money and got off this grain. And I just think it's a beautiful, beautiful process. Of course, using variations of my strategy, it's not meant to be perfect. And like I would say about anybody's strategy, it's going to be part of it, right? The good, the bad, and the ugly. I don't know which EA that is, but just kind of sharing all of it, right? It's awesome to kind of see people going through the motions and going through the process to kind of share this journey, because trading can be and is very, 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 very lonely sometimes. So that is all I've got for you guys today. I hope you guys have an incredible weekend. Get up off the charts, do something incredible. And I will be back on the next video where, again, if you have questions, anything that you'd like me to answer directly, I'm going to pull up the chat and kind of answer all of the questions that come up and do my best to kind of honor every single person. And thanks so much for watching. Take care and God bless.